Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome to the Print on Demand Playbook Podcast. My name is Rusty Pepper,
And I'm Maddy Alcala.
and together we explore the ever-evolving world of print on demand, from the companies and technology shaping it to the leaders who make it great. And all along the way, we share the strategies, insights, and stories to help you and your business grow, innovate, and get ahead. So, Maddy, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Rusty. It's good to see you. I think we haven't talked for about a week, which might be our record.
Well, talking is one thing. We've texted it back and forth. Hey,
That's
Merry
true.
Christmas, all that stuff back and forth. But yes, it's been a while. It's good to see you. I'm pumped for 2026. It's finally here.
Me too. 2025 needed to end. I think that we're almost there on New Year's as we record this, but yeah, I'm excited for the new year too. I think it's gonna be a really good year for the industry, for us personally, all these sorts of good things.
So now that we're heading into 2026 and we're at that new year, resolutions. So any new resolutions you would like to share, or
So
the one that you would like to share? Let's go with that.
it's funny you bring this up because I was having a conversation with my brother the other night, and have you? I'm not going to go on a total tangent here, but have you seen the guy that does the subway interviews, subway takes?
No.
No? All right. So there's a guy that rides the subway in New York. He's doing it now in London on the tube, and he'll interview people and ask them for their take. And I was saying the other day, I think my take, if I ever were interviewed, was I think New Year's resolutions are really dumb. I don't make New Year's resolutions. I'm very much a like, if I want to change something, if it's August 2nd, wake up, change it. So I don't have any New Year's resolutions, Rusty. But what about
Okay.
you? That's
I
my
like
hot
the
take for the
honesty there.
moment.
So no
Yeah.
goals. You don't set the year with new goals, strategies as far as this is where I really want to be. No.
Not really. I mean, I think about what I want to happen, but I don't do it on like an annual cycle. I don't know. I think about it constantly, but it's always updating
Yeah.
of where I want to go and things I want to happen. But I don't really set annual goals or New Year's resolutions. Just not
Okay.
my thing. I'll wake up, on a like I said, August morning, be like, all right, I'm gonna go change this, want this to happen. But I don't like
Yeah.
waiting for just arbitrary dates in the calendar if I want to get something done. I just want to wake up and do it.
I like it. I like it.
You're like, you're crazy. I'm really excited about New Year.
No.
Well, I
It
don't want to
works
hear
for
about
you.
your New Year's resolutions. I don't want to yuck your yum.
I've got one. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
really for me this year, I mean, because I set goals every year and then I always try to monitor throughout the year, right? Both personally and professionally, because to me, it really helps me just stay on track. And like you, I pivot
Yeah.
a lot. I change a lot. I add and subtract. I'm like, oh, that, what I thought was really something that we really need to focus on. Maybe it needs to change, but I plan on saying no more often this year.
Mm.
So that it really mainly so I can be a lot more present and focused on the opportunities where I can add the most value. I get pulled, I think as a lot of us do, we get pulled and asked to do a lot of different things, and all of a sudden it dilutes what you're able to really focus on. And that's something I've got
Yes.
I'm terrible about saying no. But this year I'm going to really try to make a concerted effort to really say, does this add value or can I really make an impact? And if so, then I'll look at it. If not, move on.
I like it. I'll hold you to that. I've been trying to do a lot of that too. I think some of it's boundaries and it's protecting your time and being
Hmm.
really deliberate with how you spend your time and your energy and what you're putting it into. I think that's super important. Well, let's ask our guest what he thinks about that because I have a feeling he's going to agree that that's a very important thing to focus on. Do you want to get him introduced, Rusty?
Yeah. So we got back from Printing United. Our past guest was Chris Minn. And Chris, welcome back to the show. We're excited to have you back on joining us because I know last time we spent a lot of time talking about web to print versus print on demand.
Yep. Yep.
So before we jump into that topic, just for those few people out there in our audience who may not know who you are, give us a quick overview on your background and then let's jump into it.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me back on, guys. It was lovely to bump into you in Printing United and chew the fat. So, yeah, I'm Chris. I'm the founder of Digital Inc. We are a print-based marketing agency. We focus on all things driving value into the print shop. I've known you, Rusty, and you, Maddy, through Print Island, where we all reside and discuss many topics. And ultimately, I'm a fan and an enthusiast of print on demand, and that's why I'm here.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for joining us. We're excited to pick up where we left off with the Printing United conversation. But before we get into it, we'll bring you in on our New Year's resolution conversation. Do you have any goals for next year? Or are you in the Maddy camp? You're like, nope, I just set goals as I go. Willy
I
nilly.
found it really interesting listening to you guys talk just a moment ago. I had already set my goals back in October when I met you guys, but I wasn't setting them out from the point of view of, oh, come January the 1st, I'm going to do this, this, and this. It was, this is where we're going, this is the journey, and this is the route we're going to take. Could go A to Z, it could go via wherever, but live in the moment. Live in the moment. Set the goal, and then live in the moment, and be agile. Things change. You've got to adjust. You've got to adjust, and hopefully that's the topic of where we're going to go today with print on demand. We've got to be agile, and we've got to adjust to the landscape in front of us.
A good segue.
I like the fact that you kind of adjust as you go anyway. So as you take on a lot of different activities. You obviously all launched Print Island last year.
Yeah.
Let's assess that. Where do you stand on that? I mean, as far as like the success of it so far, the traction, I know it's adjusted. You've got a lot of amazing content creators out there. We're honored to be on that platform. It's been amazing for us, but tell us kind of where you are with that journey.
Yeah, so first and foremost, for people that don't know what Print Island is basically Spotify for print. That's what we're trying to make. We're trying to make it a place where you go and you get all opinions, all information on all verticals, no matter where you sit in the industry, whether you're in substrates, whether you're on hardware, whether you're software, whether you're consultancy, whatever it may be. It's all going to be in one place. It's free. It's free to view, free to access. Everyone's opinion is valid as long as it's respectful, and you know we've been very lucky. 6 months from conception, it's moving quickly. We were invited to attend Printing United, as you know. We bumped into you guys there, and we were part of the media day. And it seems to be a vibe that the industry wants. Podcasting's not going anywhere, as you know. And the webinars are back as well. Webinars in that format. Rusty, you took part in one as well. That was received very well. People want to talk. We're a global business. We're spread all around the world, different time zones, but we can all get on like we are today and have a discussion. And there's the value to the business owner that where all of us can come together and have a discussion. So yeah, it's going really well. Numbers are climbing all the time. We've got a fantastic database now. We're speaking to some more presenters to come on and add more value. I think that the biggest thing that really stood out for me, just to give you guys a bit of feedback really quickly, is that we're still very siloed as an industry. And the whole premise of Print Island is the industry's on an island and we're not talking to each other. But once we start bringing content around, say, POD, content around software, content around hardware, you still get the hardware guys wanting to stay in that in their corner, and you still get the software guys over here. And we've got this huge gap we've got to bridge. I believe it will happen through the way digital media is going now. The way guests are sharing your guests, for example, share their thoughts and ideas and experiences. But you got to build it at first, and then people will come, and they are. And I think the biggest lesson I learned is, although you can look at the metric of who likes, who follows, who comments, who shares, there's a far larger metric of people that don't do any activity at all from your content, but see it. And when I was at Printing United, I had people coming up to us saying, I saw the episode with so-and-so. Hey, where's Rich? And where's Rusty? And all this stuff, right? And it shows you that these are people that weren't necessarily liking, following, or commenting on any of the content, but they were watching it and they were making reference to certain things that were said. So I think we need to be mindful of that actually we never really get a true reflection of what success is until we get out there amongst our peers.
Yeah. We hear that a lot from folks like, oh, I really like this post. I'm like, why don't you engage them?
Yeah.
Because it really helps our algorithm.
Like it.
Just give us a little bit of just a little something. But,
Exactly.
Yeah.
but it is nice to know that they are paying attention. And
Yeah.
until you get out there and start talking to people, you don't really realize the impacts that you're having. So thank y'all for launching Print Island. We love being on it. And now let's get into the main topic, because when we were at Printing United, we started having a conversation. We got cut off just because we were doing so many different interviews, and we spent a lot of time talking about web to print versus print on demand. But what stuck with me personally, I don't know about Maddy, but for me, it was really your point that web to print isn't dead. It's evolving. So Let's start there.
Yeah, and maybe before we even start there, what is web to print? Maybe for people who are listening, let's define that in your terms, Chris.
Web to print ultimately is a digital platform storefront that allows somebody to put something through a web interface and have it created in some kind of print. But there lies my issue with that phrase, Maddy. So I don't know if you want me to go further on that point or whether you want to jump in, Rusty.
Keep digging.
I think where this all came from for us is we started on a bit of a journey where we're less than a year old as a business, so we're going back to basics a little bit. We're doing our market research as a good marketing team should do. We went and spoke to business owners in the print industry and had lots of conversations, honest, tough, rough, whatever you want to say, but they were great and we learned a lot. The biggest thing with the web to print space and what the actual printer is doing or the business owner is doing is it isn't just print, it's more production, it's manufacturing. And 3 or 4 times we were corrected by business owners who said, no, I'm not a printer, I'm a manufacturer. And then there is where the penny dropped for me. So it's like, okay, so the language is wrong here, but we use web to print because we've always done it that way. And there lies the first issue. We've always done it that way. When I was working at Infigo, I used to work with a guy called Greg Young, who was customer success director, and he had a big challenge and explained very well the web to print piece and how you go from web and get it to the printer as well. That's where the integrations and the automations come in. But I think where we are now in the 21st century, post-COVID world, rising costs, businesses having to scale up, scale down, multiple revenue streams, we have to come away from that connotation of, oh, I'm just going to get a web to print site, I'm just going to get a web to print system. It needs to be more than that. And as part of this research topic we undertook, we saw very, very quickly that successful print operations or manufacturers, if you like, had multiple systems from different vendors as part of their web to print / POD network globally. And straight away we're like, okay, like we've got to re-educate as an industry here. But the biggest thing where the phrase web to print is dead, Rusty, is the whole kind of template. You buy a system off the shelf, you get your templates built, you build your products, business cards, roll letters, etc., etc., etc. That's where it's dying. The difference now is you'll have a system, a platform with multiple sites. You may have a B2B site for your existing customers. You may have B2C sites. But the difference is you will have many different products on the same sites for many different options, personalized, moving to different locations across your supply chain. And I think that's the bit where it's not actually dead. It's kind of morphing into a new entity. And part of this conversation that we want to have today with you really is to say we need to re-educate and realign language to help explain what the business owner needs. They don't just need web to print, but they need a system that will allow them to sell products and manufacture products with an element of personalization and delivered in volumes and at an acceptable shipping period.
Yeah, I think that's super interesting, Chris. And Rusty knows this. I'm a big proponent of how terminology drives, behavior and like how it's really important to use the right terms. I think that you're kind of picking on like what does web to print mean? How does it need to evolve? What are the actual root case here? I think is super interesting. As you're thinking about systems, like talk to us a little bit more about that. You've talked about storefronts and systems. Like at what point do you think the kind of old way of web to print stopped being enough? Like how does it need to evolve? Unpack that even a little bit more for us.
Okay, so let's go back 10 years. You'd go and buy a system from a vendor, and predominantly you would work within that one system. So the editor, the upload functionality, the template build. But now the way the world's gone, the way we're going, the way our customers want to interact when purchasing something, you'll have what we call a stack. So what we're hearing a lot of now is Shopify is involved in a lot of conversations. You'll have Shopify, then you'll have a web to print vendor plugged in the back of Shopify, and then you'll have an MIS system, and then you'll have another system, and then you'll have a full workflow. So we're now looking at technical stacks within within a business. We're seeing that with that requirement for multiple systems that all communicate and provide that seamless workflow, that the staff, the people in the business are changing. They're becoming more technical. Well, for those businesses, Maddy, that are embracing technology, and those businesses that are successful will have a very good stack of technical software and the people to manage and understand how it all connects together. Now, again, from the research that we did and the businesses we spoke to, it was no coincidence that the successful ones all had a fully automated system with 0 touch points, so that when somebody could order one product, one mug, or something very small below, say, $50, there was still profit made on it. And that was all because they'd invested in the workflow, the systems, the processes, the partners. And I think we've come away from the old, let's go and buy this system, let's then plug it into the press and let's hope, we're well away from that now. But the challenge is educating the business owner on how they go about this process of implementing a contactless workflow, a million times one mentality. Are they utilizing all their kit on the factory floor correctly? Do they know, is it being utilized properly? Do they have the right reporting? Do they have the right people on board to support them? So I would say we're looking now at multiple elements of what was one system. You would now have multiple different parts of that. And again, there's a plethora of options. But the Shopify piece is important, because what you need to do with the business owner is understand the challenge in their business, rather than just selling in one system and say, right, that's going to plug the gap. You need to understand the full front end all the way to the press, the shipping agent, and then back again to notify the customer. You need to understand the 360. And I'm going to throw another challenge that we've got coming in 2026, and that is AI. And we know that people are now using the likes of ChatGPT, for example, to search for products or information or answers. So Google's search is now reducing in terms of its need. So there's going to be more and more requirement for purchasing of products through the likes of ChatGPT in the next couple of years. And obviously Etsy and Shopify have already announced that you will be able to soon buy products through ChatGPT. So we know where we're going with this. But again, if you've got the front end right and the back end right and all the other partners and all the other systems, it should be plain sailing.
Yeah, I completely agree. And sorry, Rusty, I'll let you get a word in edgewise, but I'm passionate about this topic as well. I think I've talked a lot about like the infrastructure moment that the industry needs to have, and I think it's very similar to what you're speaking to with this concept of a stack. It no longer works just to have your widget here that goes all the way through. Business owners need to be much more technically fluent about how they're putting things together, and there's definitely time for education to help. A lot of the people who don't spend their days talking about technology and don't necessarily, I'm sure, feel informed to make that choice, how to put it all together in a way that is intelligent, scalable, and you're not going to end up with something that 18 months down the line, it's like, oh shoot, I thought I was buying software, I was actually just buying tech debt. Like, what are the right questions to ask? Those things I think are super important.
Yeah, I think it's really important as well that before you start going for that period of consultation and understanding the assessment of your business, that you just put yourself in the mindset of the consumer. So, and that should take you, a little way there to understanding where your business needs to be. So let's say you work in a B2B space. You don't even work in a B2C space. You still have an expectation. We've just come from the holidays, right? Middle of Christmas. We've all done shopping online. Whether you're in a B2B space or a B2C space, you expect the Amazon-style experience, right? That's an expectation now. That bar has been raised. So every single purchase now, whether it's an internal site, whether it's a partner site, it has to be at that sort of speed, that sort of streamlined mentality. And if you imagine Amazon, they would know everything, where every drone is, where every piece of waste is. You as a business owner needs to know that as well. So I think there's a huge assessment that needs to be, and I say needs, it must be done properly. Again, the successful businesses that we've spoken to that have been providing us some of our research spent 18 months, Maddy. You mentioned 18 months. They spent a good year researching where their kit is, what's right, the finishing apparatus, have they got the right shipping partner. Obviously, we know, and Rusty touched on this in the webinar, that you could get everything 99.9% right in the workflow, but the shipping agent could let you down. So you need to try and reduce those odds even more with a shipping agent that's more technically viable, or can at least alert the customer sooner through tech to say there's going to be a problem, and then that spotlight's taken more off of the business and put more onto the shipping handler. But I think really it's assessment, it's research, it's looking at the business. What does the business need? What are the business's weaknesses? What people and hardware they have in place? And then what's currently there? What software is already there? Is there anything that can be utilized? We don't need to necessarily rip it all out and rebuild it. Sometimes there could be a very good MIS system that's been there for 20 years. It's a family-run business. It could be something that's solid. Can you build around that system? If not, we hear a lot, spreadsheets being used rather than MIS. Okay, that's something we would really steer people away from. Then you could build the whole thing, the whole structure, and build it from the ground upwards. So I think it's not one size fits all. You really have to look at the business on an individual level and work out what makes sense. You got to work within budget. It could be a roadmap process, but I think ultimately it's down to the opportunity and the business challenges.
It's interesting because when I think about where to print, it's really, like you mentioned, it's template driven. It's not the agility of what you have when you really are POD. But when you look at the gaps, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, what are some of the biggest gaps that you see today when it relates to technology and how companies are managing their tech?
I think the first one for me is embracing other systems within, like we touched on over the whole Shopify thing. It's you got to find ways of getting your product out to the customer a lot quicker and a lot easier. So we're looking at marketing, we're looking at sales. That's one of the most common mistakes made when launching a POD site, web to print site, whatever you want to call it, online platform. Hey, I bought the press. Great. How are you going to run jobs to the press? Oh, I'm going to go and get software to do it. Okay, great. So you bought the press, you bought the software. Do you know how much you need to spend to generate the jobs you need to feed that press? No. We're just gonna do a bit of marketing. Doesn't work like that. So that's one of the biggest misses when scaling or planning or assessing the next piece. And software is a big part of that, because you'd want to have AI chatbots. You'd want to have maybe a WhatsApp chat section within the homepage. We know that 12% of orders are converted online with a manned chat or an AI chatbot on a POD or web to print site, because actually people are generally lazy. So I want this, I don't know how to do it. Can I just give you the artwork? And then you take the artwork through the chatbot, pre-flight it yourself, and then you still got the order. So there's a plethora of things that I think have changed. Going back to your point on the templates, Rusty, I think that's a good one, because I now think with the technology we have available to us that we can take artwork, it can be uploaded through the site, it can be pre-flighted and checked for the right specifications on the site, and the report can be shown to the customer there and then. There is no reason necessarily to have that. You don't have to sit around and have multiple options. I think people generally, this day and age with Canva especially, and the Adobe suite, they're a bit more savvy in creating their own artwork, and they generally just want a framework, and they just want to give you the logo and see it happen. And then we've got the personalization piece, which I think now is becoming standard across everything, right? Whether you're getting a mug, Stanley Cup, sending a birthday card, it just has to be there, right?
Yeah, but when I look at like the fulfillers, so many fulfillers or legacy fulfillers, they're all based on having templates or SKU-driven assortments. They don't have the agility to be able to basically take any artwork out there and then basically dynamically create products, because unless it fits in this square, they can't fulfill it. How do we solve that? Because to me, that's really when we're going to unlock a lot more scale within the POD environment. And Maddy, I know this is something we've talked about, just because of a lot of the challenges, but that is a very real problem that we're facing as an industry.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's crazy the conversations I know you and I have had, Rusty, very recently. And I think I'm still marinating on this, and I'm curious for your input, Chris, of where you think the problem goes to. What I've seen a lot recently is it comes down to how you're billing. Because if you're not set up to be able to price flexibly and bill and report flexibly, that puts you in a box. Because even if you can print it, but you can't charge for it or bill for it appropriately, you get in this weird back and forth as a business. And a lot of times it goes back to two like underlying, like, more systemic challenges is you're using an ERP for a function that an ERP shouldn't be doing. We run into that all the time. And it's like the ERP becomes this like golden hub of truth in this business. And their systems are not built to be flexible enough for like a print workflow, especially a print on demand workflow. So I've seen that be a big struggle for companies. And then the other one is the data structure. That's a related topic of how you've set up your SKUs and your data structure, and it's this old archaic model that you've used. Breaking out of those two things, I think, is what's really challenging for businesses. But I'm curious, Chris, have you seen the same thing when you've been working with the companies that you've worked with?
Yeah, do you know what? I mean, at Figo, not as much. And I have to say, because I think the system lends itself to Rusty's problem, first and foremost, what he mentioned, fulfilling a square. You got a square area on the cups, and the cups only come in 5 colors, and they're saying we can't do it unless it fits in that square. Well, hey, guess what? It's very simple to have that square marked out on the artwork within the site, and then the user just drags and drops what they want in there, and they just pick one of the 5 options. So that technology is actually available. I think it's more of an education piece to bring in some other partners, someone like an InFocus Pitstop, for example, or InFocus Switch. Like these are all tools that would help with that. But even people at Antigrow, I mean, Rusty, you saw Antigrow at D-Scoop in Long Beach. They work on a very similar system where you would have a designated area on a set product, and the user can drag and drop, and they can stretch, and they can rotate the artwork accordingly. So the people fulfilling it then are just going to have that one area covered as they require it, and therefore that gives the customer the product they want without the fulfillment team having to stress on those other elements.
Yeah, but actually, real quick on that though, Chris, what I was actually really mentioning was not necessarily from the design standpoint, was just really if it doesn't fit in a square box. What I meant by that is if it doesn't have this substrate with this on this style and all these different elements where it was already a predefined SKU, so it's paper or whatever substrate size, all these different things. That's what I was talking about, not necessarily the decoration, because I agree. Yeah, to me, that's an easy part. It's all the other parts that make that SKU or that template that people are struggling with when it comes to actually getting their products out.
Yeah, and I think that kind of ties into what Maddy is saying about the ERP. I think we have to look at things like a proper MIS system. Now, an MIS system, in my mind, with your front end, your web to print front end, there should be live pricing going between the two. There should be, as you're on the landing page, changing the quantities, changing the materials, changing the colors, the pricing should be changing, because it should be looking at the source of truth on the MIS. Okay, which it is designed to manage those sort of things, Maddy, which is what you're making a very valid point. And that should be the source of truth. And it also should be, if you go in and change something on the MIS and the person's gone on the site 24 hours earlier, they should get a different price when they go onto it after you made that change, because as they're looking at it, that quantity is adjusting the price as per the source of truth. And I think these are all the things really that need to be part of the stack, part of the assessment, because it's not just about having a nice looking front end site, it's about having flow of data, and that flow of data needs to go upstream, downstream, because again, as I mentioned earlier on with the shipping side of things, that data needs to send notifications all the way through so that email is generated or that SMS notification is generated. So I think it's more of what we're saying here is data, information, where's it stored, how's it flowing, who's managing it. And I think that's the starting point.
And I love what you said too about source of truth, because I think identifying which system is the source of truth for which information, and there's going to be different systems that are the source of truth for different things. like where you store that pricing information, where you store your product attribute information, where you store your order information might be different systems, but they all have to connect and talk to each other. And it needs to be very clear in the stack what part of the stack is responsible for what actions. Because I've also seen too, and I'm sure you have, Chris, that some of these old like monolithic systems that try to do everything all at once. But that's where being thoughtful about that technology stack coming together is really what gives the business owner a lot more flexibility.
Yeah, I think, Maddy, just a point I'd like to make on that, where I've seen real value, and again, I reference certain print businesses or manufacturers, shall we say, to coin that phrase that they asked me to use, where they're successful and they're making money and they're growing, they have multiple systems. They've gone with specialists at each stage of the workflow. Now, there are many software vendors out there that say they can do it all with one system. They can't. Not really. Not you go with a specialist. You go with an MIS specialist. They know what they're talking about. You go with a front end web to print platform. They know what they're talking about. Same with in positioning, same with the finishing table, whoever it may be. You go for the specialist, and then you make sure that they can all work together. I was out for dinner with a D-Scoop member, funny enough, when I was at Print United, and he was explaining to me that he's been slower to move on creating his stack. And I said, oh, okay, sometimes that's the right thing to do. And he said, but the difference is I can be on a call with all 6 partners and they can say, hey, step off, we've got this, because we've already integrated, we've already know what each other does, and it's like a seamless handing of the relay baton. But the difference was that these systems were all specialists in their own field, but they all knew how to communicate and work together with one collective ideal, and that was the customer. And I think that's the piece that I'm really trying to get over to our customers, Rusty, and this whole web to print is dead. Welcome to the era of print on demand, because print on demand is about a collective of systems that could be spread globally that all talk with the same goal in mind.
How do we get there? I mean, when you look at a fragmented industry, right? I mean, we're literally the bulk of the industry all have homegrown systems.
Yeah.
None of them really do a great job talking. They were built for an analog age, not for a digital era. I mean, these are real challenges, but big opportunities for the software companies and providers out there. I just look at all that as friction.
There's a lot of friction. There's a lot of friction from just human mentality, to be quite honest. I think people will freak at the fact that we're saying web to print is dead. They're like, how can you say that? It's not. Well, no, it's in the phrase, it's an evolution, right? I think humans generally don't like change. But I think that there is unfortunate saying you have to adapt or you die. And again, in the research that we've done and the business owners we've spoken to, they adapted very aggressively after COVID, where they learned very quickly that they needed to be agile, they needed to be quicker, and they needed to be ready to supply 1,000,000 times one. But the other thing as well was generating extra revenue streams. So they've self-taught, they've learned, they've invested in the business. And I think to answer your question, there is no shortcut in this. We have to change language. We have to have more education sessions. We have to get those that are succeeding to share. And we have to be open-minded. And I think, be honest, is the business doing as well as it is? Are we working smart? Are we still working with 16 SKUs, or should we be working with 16 million SKUs? Have we got the right suppliers? What's our customer success looking like? What's the return rate? Do we know how much waste we're creating as a business? That's another telltale sign. So I think really it's looking at the numbers at the top, and I think that will start to lead to the point. I think assessments are a big part. I'm a big fan of those. A couple of the partners we work with provide full automation assessments. And as Maddy was saying, are they using the right systems for the right job? Probably not. But to answer your point, Rusty, it's not going to be easy. And I think some will fall along the way, because I just don't think, like the analog to digital step a few years back, I think there was resistance there, and I think there always will be, because that's human mentality.
Well, it's the beginning of the 2026. They better start figuring it out, because the world's a moving.
The world is a moving fast. I love it. Well, Chris, this has been a fascinating conversation as always. Thank you for joining us. I think we'll probably continue this dialogue throughout 2026. It's something I know I talk a lot about. Rusty and I have been chatting about, we chat with you about, so it's a really interesting one. And keep us posted as you're seeing changes, especially around this web to print topic. I love this. Anytime you're saying something's dead, but it's not, and it's evolving, and what's the metamorphosis? I think that's a good challenge for the industry. And let's go fight the good fight and help educate the business owners about technology changes that they need to make.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on again, and keep up the good work raising the flag of POD.
No, we appreciate it. Yeah, no, we look forward to continuing this conversation. I think it's something probably quarterly we do an update on it, because I do think it's an important one. I do believe that the evolution of web to print into POD is really where people need to go, and how do we get that conversation going that way? So I know you've got a couple of different events that you're going to be speaking at in the new year. You want to talk about those real quick before we wrap up?
Yeah, sure. So I'll be at FESPA Middle East in Dubai. The region's an interesting region, slightly different in the sense of they believe in investment. It's a different kind of sell, if you like, but the software side of things is very behind, and I mean that respectfully. So part of the job for us out here is to educate. Now they grasp AI very well, and so much so that AI is compulsory in schools from the age of 7 in the Middle East, and it's mad. Someone said to me the other day about my daughter, how's she getting on at school? I said, she's great. She's 6. She's already doing computer studies. Next year she starts AI. Can you believe that? 7 years old, she's going to be starting AI. So the region's moving very, very quickly. Now, if you put a financial value onto the automation and the software piece, it gets the interest very quickly. So that's part of my role here is to help speed that up with some other partners, and then obviously D-Scoop in March at Rockies. I'm not sure I'll be speaking, but I think I'll be there working in 2 different capacities. So I'm looking forward to working with the software vendors and supporting our charitable movement, Sheep for Brains, and then hopefully again into Europe in the summer, Rusty, where I may see you, hopefully.
I'm looking forward to it, yeah. Well, we'll definitely see you at D-Scoop. We're going to miss you at FESPA Dubai. We'll be at FESPA Barcelona, though, in May.
We'll get you there.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll see you there, if not at OPS as well. So
Great stuff.
But,
Awesome.
well, thanks so much for joining us. And Happy New Year, everyone. Happy New Year, Chris. And to everyone else, stay well.
Happy New Year, guys. Thank you.
Cheers, everyone.
But one of the things I found really refreshing was hearing multi-vendor approach on working through so you'd have a singular system like an MIS or like a site flow, and then you would run multiple front end shops through it. But this SLT, the senior management team, would look at that one source of truth, and then they would know that that's going to go to Europe, that's going to go to North Africa, that's going to go there, and then all the fulfillment centres are doing their thing. That information feeds right back, and this is all monitored in one place. And it just proves you can do it, because in essence, what it does is it empowers you to go and get another location, it empowers you to bring on another product, It empowers you to bring on another partner. And that's why these guys are doing it quicker and quicker and quicker. So, yeah.
Well, it's order management. I mean, that's what I spend most of my days talking about with order mesh.
It is.
How do you have that central source of truth for order data so you actually can decide and optimize the best place for every order? Yeah. And that's where you see companies trying to do it out of ERPs. ERPs are not order management systems. They shouldn't be doing it. They shouldn't be doing routing. Right. Like you see it trying to do it out of the front end. Nope, shouldn't be doing it. Like there should be that middle layer very deliberately where it's like the order flow comes through this.
Maddy, I've
and
seen
the business owners can make the change. Yeah.
So like order management is probably the best way of explaining it, because sometimes it can sound more technical than it is. But I've seen people change or add the front end storefronts and the actual MIS system that sits like the heartbeat of the system can actually create the product on the front end by sending the right mapping through. So actually you could have, say, 3 different software vendors, but each time they're going to have the right kind of product with the right attributes because the MIS has done the work and sent the right data through. It comes back to data. Every AI webinar we're on, every AI conversation we're in, all the experts in our industry who have been working with AI for the last 20 years are saying the same thing. Focus on the data and the AI will be good for you. focus on the data, the money will flow. It's as simple as that. So, but people don't.
Why is that? Why are they not focusing on it?
I think Richard, like he and I had this debate that we feel that the print industry is like the creative industry and the tech industry, right? So two different personalities, if you like. And again, this comes down to our challenges in industry where we're very siloed, we're very segmented because we're all very different, but we've all got a link. We're all together, but we don't really understand it. And I think the successful businesses, their mindset is I need creative, really good creative, and I need really good tech. And I think when you embrace both of those, because the biggest so I'm from a marketing background before print, so I used to have an agency, then I came into the print world. The biggest thing that I saw on the outside, especially working in London, was marketing agencies back in the late 90s, early noughties didn't understand the value of print. Still don't. The top agencies don't really know what you can do with the likes of Branded by Woods or the likes of Blooming Colour or whoever it is you use, right? The options are endless. I mean, like, it blew my mind when someone said, oh, you can make a personalised suitcase, right? So you think, okay, so now everything is marketing real estate. And I think that's, and as I say that, I've got a hockey puck in my hand with HP Print OS because that was for Graphics Canada where we had a ice hockey theme, right? So this is my point. Everything is real estate, okay? So agencies don't know that because the print industry is rubbish at getting out there. So I think there's the mindset piece that you mentioned, Rusty, is huge, absolutely huge, because I think we're not good at selling our industry outwards. We're not good at talking internally within our industry because we have a disconnection, and we don't really know what we need in our businesses. And I think that in a nutshell is what I see.
Well, thank you for coming on to the print.
I mean, that's what we're doing now as part of Taylor. They've got this massive footprint. It's tying it all together. And then, like I was saying, I was talking to a business the other day, and it's crazy to me, these print facilities, they can't route orders between facilities. They don't have a common platform. Their customer service teams are logging into 6 different systems to chase something down. But we work with the brands, and a lot of the brands who are connecting into a multi-location footprint and have a system they built 15 years ago to do order flow and order routing and manage the product data, and it's a disaster. Yeah. But it's the exact same stuff that you're talking about of 99% of the problems are people, behavior, this is my job, this is how I've always done it. And like, I think the bright side of the manufacturer is like working with people who really like to roll up their sleeves and make things, like business owners. Yeah. But on the flip side of that, it's, well, why wouldn't I just build this myself? Because you're not a software partner. You're not a software provider. Like you're terrible at this. You have an IT guy named Dave. Well, and that's where like I'm going to be putting out some content in the first couple weeks of the year because I really want to start like challenging some of the technology side of the conversation because I think I'm not a technologist, I'm a salesperson, but like I spend all my time talking about technology. I see some of these software platforms even that are being sold. I'm like, that's not a good scalable platform because the business owners don't know what questions to ask. And then it's like, if their IT guys involved, it's a dumpster fire. Because it's rare to run into like a true technologist in this space. They exist.
A modern technologist.
A modern technologist, yeah. And I think the biggest thing you've got to have in your mind is sales, bottom line, profit. What does the business need? Because if you don't have that, you're not really going to be putting the right stuff into to help the business. And I think that's the biggest misconception for me is sometimes, do I need a sales team? Well, you might not with, say, a third of your clients if you gave them a storefront where all of their products are there and they can just log in and put a purchase order number and it can be ordered straight onto the workflow. No one's touching it. Sheila doesn't have to pick up the phone and order it now because she's a busy mum, so she can order it at midnight from home. Sheila can't undo the branding because the branding has been fixed on the template. So now actually she can't change the Coca-Cola font because it's locked. So she can reorder the business. All these things you can do, like it's crazy. But it all comes down to helping the business. And if you have the business objectives at the forefront, then it's one of those. But yeah, I think we just did a white paper on our webinar with Rusty and Tim and Pat, and there's some really good stuff in it. I'm going to send it to you both. I'm really pleased with what came out of that. Rusty looked really cool as well. He literally was James Bond or Jason Bourne in that.
I love it.
We were like, it was
What is it, white paper?
white paper, yeah.
Or did you just take like the
Yeah.
audio content and turn?
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, we've said some. Either we're lying in the white paper, or we said some good, useful stuff. So I think it's a bit of both. But marketing, eh? But I'll send it to you both because I think, Maddy, like what you're just saying, you need to put that into some kind of download as well. When you what you're saying here, you guys talk a lot of good stuff on here, but for your businesses, your day jobs, this is stuff that they should be putting a brand on and giving it out to customers as value add because this is free education.
100%. Yeah, I completely agree.
Free education isn't a bad thing either. I mean, that's the thing. I think people feel like they have to pay for everything. Or if you listen to people that are out there, there's a lot of smart people out there doing stuff.
But it's only free in the sense of it's telling you where to start. It's not fixing the problem. It's just saying you need to think about this, this, and this. And then there's a follow up, isn't there? Go and get a consultant, go and do a hire, go back into the office on Monday morning and sit down with your leadership team and say, what's our stack? Do we even have a stack? Do we have an ERP? It's just a starting point. Really, they should be investing in this anyway. But
well, and it's questions to ask too. Like so many businesses don't understand how much their systems cost. And it's crazy because you start looking at even just like cloud hosting. If you've got old shitty tech, your like your total cost per order, like there's retail has some really good metrics that I want to start bringing to this space of like, what's your fully absorbed cost for every order or everything that runs through your system? Like, can we get to that metric and define that? Because you start to get all the different human touches and the cloud hosting costs and the infrastructure and like these things aren't free. And these business owners pay the bills to Azure or whatever, AWS every month. And they're just like, oh, well, this is how much technology costs. Could it cost half as less? It's like those platforms get pretty expensive. And all these print providers are processing millions of images and all this data. It's expensive cloud computing. And so even stuff like that, if you're running on old shitty tech, for just order workflow type stuff, it's going to be very expensive.
I think you're opening Pandora's box there, Maddy, because you've got the whole kind of everything being in the cloud, which I think is great because I think COVID proved that when the print shops had to shut, and actually if you weren't cloud-based, then you were screwed. So very quickly, a lot of MIS systems went from being boxes on the factory floor to up in the cloud. So that was a revolution. I think you've got the whole kind of sustainability piece because if you're a proper POD operation, you're global. So your AWS bill will be multi-region. So therefore you'll be spinning up servers, and then actually. You're killing the rainforest. You are, end of. But then in Europe, if you're running a business in Europe, you're going to be you're accountable for what your carbon footprint is. So how are you showing that on the order? So I think
you've got safe harbor and all the data privacy and like,
are
these systems SOC 2 compliant? No, they're not. They're not. Like you're not doing this in a compliant way.
We don't have that here, Maddy.
Retail or corporate data.
Data here just flows. I mean, personal data here it's like the rain for the Brits. It just flows out the sky. There's no laws. No, we've got lots of data here. No GDPR.
It's wild.
Well, benchmarking, I think, is the best thing you could say there. Is if you're benchmarking against best in class versus what's in our industry. If you benchmark what's in our industry, that's a losing proposition. But if you benchmark against best in class retailers, companies out there doing it, those are the gold standards. What we should be doing and bringing and deploying into our space. I love that idea, Maddy.
You should have a webinar on this sort of stuff. The way you two are coming at this, the topics you're talking about, they're just half an hour is just not enough. The guests are far too valuable. Like you honestly, we had the same thing with ours. We were an hour and it wasn't enough, was it, Rusty? And I know you were itching to get back to the party, but we could have gone on, couldn't we?
Even though I looked like a penguin when I was out there.
You looked all right, man. You looked all right. It's all right.
Is this before the Hello Print party?
Yeah. It was
you looked quite dashing.
He looked good.
Yes,
He looked good. We said he was like working for. He was 007 basically. He was a spy. He's in Europe. First of all, what's he doing in Europe, Maddy? Like he's American. He shouldn't be. It's Jason Bourne, isn't it? Clearly,
That's true. Exactly. Yeah, he really is.
Saving
That'd
one
be
printer
such
at
a
a
plot
time.
twist.
Yeah. Listen, I love you both. I've got to do Sheet for Brains call now. So peace. I'll send you.
Happy New Year.
You too, you too, you too. Thank you for your help and your support. And yeah, see you soon.
All right.
Speak
Cheers.
soon. Bye, Chris.
Bye-bye.